One of the things I love is that, I can read an article or have some realization, and then it presents itself in my class. And that's what I want to talk about right now is sometimes I hear my clients or my students say, well, my childhood was pretty good. How do I have a right to complain? Or compared to someone else. It's always about comparing yourself to someone else. Someone who maybe has gone through a really rough time in life may go look at another person, how dare you, complain about your life? How dare you? Even when there's massive world events going on, like children starving of hunger or war, refugees, all that stuff, you may even go, well, why do I have a right to complain? Well, it's a nice logical thought, but it makes no sense. And I was reading an article last week, and it was about how increasingly people are actually diagnosed with trauma, even though they had a really good childhood. Now, I think that trauma is overdiagnosed, by the way, but let's just say we call it pain over your childhood, even though when you compare it to other people's childhoods, you've had a really good childhood. You need to place that in terms of NLP timelines or in terms of the brain in perspective. So let's just say that you're 4 and you're moving to another house. You have to leave all your friends behind, the friends that you've had all your life, in your life. You need to move to a place where you're new, you have to stand in class, you have to introduce yourself, you feel uncomfortable, it's your first public speech. You know what? For a 4-year-old, that's pain. Does that make sense? Or let's say you're 12, you move from a foreign country, you don't speak the language, you have left all your friends behind, your parents are in maybe even mayhem over moving to a foreign country. You don't speak the language. You don't have any friends. You're in a different school system. And then someone comments that you don't have the right clothes or the right sneakers. You know what? For a 12-year-old or someone young, that's really unnerving, especially at that age. You want to belong. Maybe your parents divorced at a younger age before you had any experience in the world. And can you sort of tap into the possibility that pain for a child who doesn't have many experiences, who feels very strong emotions, that they can have a coding in their world that is really almost the same as a child that has been through a lot more than that. In essence, science actually has shown that people who have experienced very rough childhoods, even trauma, are more resilient than people who don't. So to actually overcome the second trauma is much higher, to not sweat the small stuff, to actually have learned coping strategies to overcome things are much higher in someone who's been through a lot in an earlier time in life. But when you haven't, then the loss of grandma at 15 is a huge deal, and so instead of viewing it in comparison to others, and you have no right to complain, you have to view it in the map of the world of the person that you're talking to. And that's important to keep in mind, and that relates to the pain is pain, and it's about a coding. And so keep that in the back of your mind when you're talking to clients or when you sort of like thinking about yourself, especially when you have issues like fears or anxiety, self-esteem issues, lack of self-love. You may think I have no right, but maybe the 3-year-old you did, maybe the 7-year-old part of you did. And so I think it's important to keep in mind. See you around.